Hey guys, what's up? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another MLB DFS Slurve video here at No Huddle Fantasy Sports. As always, I thank you guys so much for finding your way here, tuning into these videos. It's pretty crazy. We're wrapping up the MLB season. We only have about 10 total games, 10 or 11 games left, depending on which team, for the remainder of this MLB season. And with that said, we are talking baseball-specific DFS, MLB-specific DFS for tonight's main slate. We're talking about 12 total games tonight on Friday, September 18th, 2020. And we are diving specifically into the FanDuel web browser here, as we did in the previous video. So if you do play on DraftKings, keep in mind we're talking specific FanDuel pricing, but a lot of this analysis, whether we're talking pitchers, stacks, bats, whatever it is, does apply across baseball altogether. So hopefully these videos are helpful for you over on DraftKings. But in general, these videos have been pretty great over the last couple of weeks, where we have dove into the web browser instead of the actual FanDuel phone app. With that, I'm able to show you some of the optimizers, show you some of the fan graphs behind the scenes, kind of walk through specifically why we're selecting certain players. That being said, the last couple of nights have not been great. We're running cold right now. Fully will admit that to you guys. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, it's happening towards the end of the season here. But basically what I've done is select great pitchers and not stack the Yankees, and the Yankees have just been going crazy over the last couple of nights. So we're back at it again tonight. Hopefully we can correct that trend. We can figure out which stacks are in elite spots, because trust me, tonight there's a million different ways you can go. So all of that being said, let's start this video off right. We're going to try to quickly get through this. I do apologize. This video is coming out a little bit later than I wanted on Friday because we're putting out NFL content. So NFL content, stay tuned for that. If you play NFL DFS, will be coming out later tonight. That's Friday, specific in-depth dives into the FanDuel main slate for NFL. But we're talking baseball here. So let's first jump over to the Daily Fantasy Nerd Lineup Optimizer. I talk about this, how much I love it, how much I use it. I've used it all season. It's an excellent tool. If you're interested in being a better DFS player, finding out trends, seeing the stats as you need them, everything contained in one spot, in addition to tracking your bankroll, building lineups, multiple lineups, building optimizers out. All of that is contained right here at Daily Fantasy Nerd. I've linked an affiliate link down in the description. You get a free month by clicking it. It helps me out a little bit. Full disclosure, it's an affiliate link. But again, I use this, and I'm not getting paid to tell you this. I do have an affiliate link. That's about it. It gives you all sports, basically for one price. Whether you play baseball or football, NHL or NBA, it's all here. You have your different sites, you can sort it all. And again, I think this is by far the best optimizer. But we're going to start here. First off with weather, there's not much to talk about. No real concerns from rain. You can see the only concerns are those that have retractable roofs. Everything else is pretty much, nothing's really to be fearful of. There is some wind, some double-digit wind figures. Keep that in mind. One thing I will mention, most games are on the cooler end tonight. Whether it's, I think the hottest it's gotten is 70 degrees. You can see here in this Tampa Bay game, that's in Florida. I guess you have an 85 in Colorado. But outside of that, you're talking games in the 60s, under 70 degree weather range. You have games that are even in the below 60. That's this Detroit game. So that does favor pitching a little bit. It starts to slow down bats, slow down some of the scoring. On a day when you have a lot of scoring, it's going to be interesting. So just keep that in mind. Now, in terms of Vegas totals, this is where I really want to touch a quick second on. A lot of numbers here. The Los Angeles Dodgers, 7.91 in terms of a Vegas run implied projection for their team, for their individual scoring. That's insane. I have not seen a total that high in years. I can't remember a total that high outside of... I really can't, honestly. I can't remember a team's projected to score that many runs. Of course, they're playing in Colorado against a bad pitcher. It's going to be a great night for them, certainly. If you can get exposure, I'll talk about it, get it, but I won't spend too much time there. Now, the Yankees, they put up about 1 billion runs in 3 days. They're projected 6.2, which is crazy because it's higher than the other Colorado team, which is the home team, the Colorado Rockies, which is 5.59. Only one other team, the Angels, projected above 5 there, so keep that in mind. Now, on the flip side, there are a ridiculous amount of teams projected below 4. So when you're selecting pitchers, I always mention focus on teams below 4, especially these really low teams here. That's how you're going to gauge, who's going to get beat up or who's not. It's an easy indicator, one of many indicators, but an easy one you guys should focus on. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams below 4 tonight. These numbers will change. Some will go above, some will drop a little bit, but something to certainly consider when selecting pitchers. With that said, what pitchers are we looking at? Let's bounce into the MLB here. Let's find our way into a random contest on the main slate for tonight. It doesn't really matter. We're just talking about the pitching. We're talking about the bats. We're talking about the stacks, everything you need for DFS tonight. As soon as this loads, computer's being slow considering I got 15 different tabs open here at the top that I will browse through here, but we can bounce back here, talk about kind of, we can sort by pitcher. I'll show you guys this optimizer. Of course, I won't spend too much time here, but Glass now stands out. I'm going to talk about him first. You have Plessic, you have Gallen, who I will avoid. Fried, I'll avoid. Greinke, I think, is in a decent spot. Hendricks, and then Paddock is a guy that everybody's going to be playing tonight. So all those guys in play here, but we're going to talk about all of them. We're going to discuss which guys I think are in the best spot. If you're talking pure talent, we can get rid of some of these guys. I don't know why they're preset. But if you're talking pure talent tonight, Tyler Glasnow, to me, is that guy. He's $10,100 in a good spot tonight versus Baltimore. The downside is he's pitching on the road. You like to focus on home pitchers. Glasnow is very up and down. The good news is he's pitched a couple times against Baltimore so far this season. The bad news is it's been good and it's been bad. Earlier this season in Baltimore, only 23 points, gave up 2 runs in 4.2 innings. In his most recent start versus them at the end of August, he had 13 Ks, 2 earned in 7 innings, 64 points. So that's what you're going to get out of this guy. What can happen with him? It's boom or bust at times. You can see the double-digit strikeout potential. This guy has a ridiculous strikeout percentage. I think it's 31 or 32%. But he also has a ridiculous walk percentage at times. He struggles with command. He can't locate his balls or his strikes. He throws a lot of balls and walks guys and gives up a home run. That can happen and has happened several times this year. So you get the good with the bad with him. The matchup, I will say, is not as favorable as you would think. Baltimore, in Baltimore, you think, hey, it's the Baltimore Orioles. They have nobody. They have Chris Davis. He strikes out a bunch. Not really. So focusing back on right-handed pitchers here, we are exploring Fangraphs if you guys are interested. It's a free site. This is how I kind of sort all my stats. It's the best advanced stat site for baseball by far. But you can see here, Baltimore is top half of the league. They're 13th overall with a 103 WRC+. Their WOBA stands at 326. Their ISO 174. But more importantly, they don't strike out a ton. They are bottom half of the league at a 22%. Just under 23% strikeout rate. So the numbers are not ideal. He's in not the worst spot, but he's not in a great spot here. Again, once you spend that on him, trust me, it's going to be very difficult to stack LAD. If you want to stack LAD, you're not going to go Glasnow. I don't think he's going to be as highly owned as we think because people will want to fit that Los Angeles Dodgers stack. So keep in mind, but he is my number 1 pitcher on the slate with the upside of that double-digit strikeout potential. Just keep in mind, if you don't like risk, then you don't want to play Glasnow. Number 2 guy for me is going to be Zack Greinke. He stands out to me pitching at home versus Arizona. Arizona is a team that just is not very good. They're trading away players. They're fading at the end of the season. Greinke has been okay so far this season for Houston. His most recent start against the Dodgers, 5 earned, so you got to kind of pass that up. The Dodgers kill everyone, and they're going to kill a team tonight. We're going to see it happen before our eyes. But basically 3 or less runs in every game, so that gives you the opportunity of a quality start if he can make it 6 innings. I think you can certainly get that tonight. I don't know if he has ridiculously high upside, at least like he used to. 7, 8, 9 strikeouts seems to be his top end here. If we flip back to the optimizer here, he's actually projected 7. Oh, no, that's not him. 5.5 Ks on the night. The good thing is he's facing Arizona. I believe they are the lowest run projection on the night at 3.28. That's why I like them. Houston, of course, is scheduled to win this game or should be in line to win this game, so that gives him some upside with a W as long as he can maintain. He has a 23% strikeout rate, not as favorable as this 32 you see up here for Glasnow. But again, you're paying about $600 less for him. Maybe that helps you get a bat here. He's probably my number 2 on the slate in terms of a pitcher to pick. Another guy that's worth discussing, I'll bring him up in between some of my favorite plays here, is Chris Paddock. What I will say about him is everybody's going to play him. Every video I've clicked on, every analysis, every article talks about Chris Paddock as a value at $8,200. And maybe they're right, but he has He has both good and he has a lot of ugly in his game logs here. You can see there's times when he gives up 6 earned runs. There's times where he gives up, 1 or 2 in just a few innings. I don't think he's that good of a pitcher. I think the matchup here, if we go back here versus, Seattle. Seattle can be a bad matchup. I mean, not bad, but they are a bad team in 2020, so it is a good matchup. But he's pitching on the road technically, even though it's considered a home game for San Diego. What I'm basically telling you guys is go ahead. He is a decent $8,200 value here. Helps you fit expensive bats in. Go ahead, play him if you want. My philosophy is I play tournaments. If everybody's going to go to Paddock and he has a good chance of getting blown up or doing really bad, I'm going to go another way, and that's the bottom line here. So keep that in mind. I'm not avoiding him because I think he's an awful pitcher or in an awful spot, but simply because I think you can take leverage against the field. Another guy that's in a great spot, though, is Zach Plesac, also on the road versus Detroit. The key here is the matchup. So Plesac has pitched really well this season, very, very limited in terms of giving up damage. Worst game came against Minnesota, gave up 5 earned. Before that, the most was 3, had several games of only 1. Strikeouts aren't necessarily his MO. If we go back to the optimizer here, you can see he's a 20% strikeout guy, so that's not ideal. Only 3.53 runs projected for Detroit, so that's good. Cleveland, his team, projected to win the game, obviously in a good spot. Big way favorite, so that helps with the W, helps with the quality start, all that good stuff. The last thing I'll mention here is 7K seems really high for Plesac. I don't know if I agree with that, but they're not deriving that off Plesac himself. Instead, they're deriving that off this number here. Detroit is number 1 in baseball versus right-handers in terms of strikeouts, 28%, number 1 overall. In addition to that, it's a good spot. They're bottom 5 in WRC+, WOBA, ISO, all the numbers that you care about in terms of a lineup versus a pitcher. Detroit is bad in those numbers. So I think Plesac in an excellent spot, but again, you're going to pay $10,400. Good luck fitting the Dodgers with him. The last guy I will mention is Kyle Hendricks. Again, another guy that's not striking out a lot of bats. He's not known for that. He's a ground ball guy. He pitches very well at home in Chicago. The temperatures are low today. It should be more of a pitcher favorable atmosphere, climate, weather type of situation in Chicago. Minnesota is a little scary, I will admit. That's why he's kind of number 4 for me. But he's pitched very well. You can see 42, 43, 3 games of 40 plus. He's gone 6 or more innings in every single one of them. Has at times racked up strikeouts, 9 here, 7 here, but he's a much lower strikeout guy. Again, going back to the optimizer here, Hendricks 20% strikeout, so not ideal. 5 against Minnesota, but a very low run projected total, and they're projected to win the game. That's the Cubs. So decent spot for him, saves you some more money at $9,300. That's pretty much the last guy I'll discuss, though. Again, if you rank my order without considering money, it's Glasnow, Greinke, Plesac, and then Hendricks. If you want to go Paddock, feel free. I won't be going there. Let's talk stacks. Which teams or which pitchers, if we stick to the pitchers here, do we want to attack? So, obviously, go with the Dodgers. They are projected almost 8 runs on the night. Again, a very, very ridiculously high total. They're facing Castellani here. Not very good, a right-hander. All of your lefties are in play for the Dodgers. I don't need to spend too much time here. If you can stack the Dodgers, stack the Dodgers. It's a great spot for them. Every box is checked. They're on the road. They're facing a bad pitcher. They're in Colorado. They're one of the best, if not the best team versus right-handed pitching. We can just click into that right here. The LA Dodgers, versus right-handers. Sorry, versus righties. So they are number 4 with a 125 WRC plus. They're WOBA. They're number 5. They don't strike out a ton, and they're number 1 in ISO. So that's the important number here. A lot of balls are going to leave the yard tonight. Go with the Dodgers. I will say, though, there are some value guys I will pull out of this lineup just to kind of help with pricing. $3,600 for Justin Turner stands out to me. Will Smith at $3,500. Chris Taylor at $33,000. And then last but not least, my boy, Jock Peterson, should be in the lineup tonight at $3,400. Probably hitting 6th or 7th. Stack this lineup up and down, left and right, 7 through 9, 1 through 4, however you want. Go with the Dodgers tonight if you can afford it. But besides that, a couple of teams I want to mention. So I like Glass now, but I also like the Tampa Bay stack tonight. I think it's going to go under-owned. They're facing Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb having a bad season, has had a couple of bad seasons in a row now. 5.03 ERA on the season. If you go back to some of his game logs here, has not done anything at all. Doesn't strike a lot of guys out. Gives up a lot of contact. Gives up hard contact. If we click over to him here specifically, well, let's focus. I guess first I'll talk the splits on him. And this is why it standed out to me. Alex Cobb versus lefties, a 4.65 xFIP, 360 WOBA, is giving up 2.74 home runs per 9 and a 40% hard hit rate. So all bad numbers for him. And we're talking a value stack here, by the way, for Tampa Bay. Trying to save you guys some money. I do like Tampa Bay as an under-owned value stack versus righties too. Alex Cobb has that advantage right on right, but still doesn't show anything impressive. 4+ xFIP, 399 WOBA. That's pretty bad. 314 home runs per 9 and a 44% hard hit rate. If we jump over to Alex Cobb specifically over the last couple of years, scroll down to some of the batted ball features. Again, if you guys are interested in all these stats, it's really easy. Just go over to Fangraphs. It is by far the best source for all this information. But you can see in 2020, 46% hard hit rate, and people are barreling him up above 10%. Anything above 10 is really, really bad. You go back to 2019, he didn't pitch a lot, but still hasn't shown the ability to not get hit hard in several years. So I do really like this Tampa Bay stack against Alex Cobb. I mentioned they are of a value. We're going to see how it plays out. Lineups are not out yet for a lot of these teams. I'm not going to even pronounce this guy's name here, but the leading guy is $2,700 left on left. The advantage here, I mentioned how bad he is versus lefties, Cobb that is. They are just loaded with lefties in this lineup. Hopefully Austin Meadows plays. I don't know if that will be the case tonight, but certainly a ton of great spots in this lineup to full-on stack below $3,000. So you could easily go with a four-person stack of the Tampa Bay Rays, followed by a three-person stack, maybe four-person stack of the Dodgers. So that's the Alex Cobb. I wanted to attack him. Another guy I want to attack is actually with another, what I think is an under-owned stack, and that is, last but not least here, let me just show you guys versus righties. Tampa Bay has been decent so far this season, top 10 in pretty much every stat versus them. WRC plus of 108, that's 10th overall, so all good numbers for Tampa Bay versus righties. But again, moving on here, let's go back to pitching. Another guy I want to attack, so far, I don't know if this will change, but Tyler Mahle is scheduled to pitch for Cincinnati. The Chicago White Sox on the road in Cincinnati are attractive to me. Chicago White Sox are known as a team that has been able to really kill lefties so far this season, but they're top 10 versus righties. I think they're kind of under the radar in my opinion. 110 WRC plus, 330 WOBA, 179 ISO. Their ISO drops naturally. They're all big righties in that lineup. But my point is their WOBA and their WRC plus as a lineup are top 10, and they're facing what I think is a bad pitcher tonight in Tyler Mahle. 4.31 ERA on the season. You can see here has had some okay games, but mainly has been average at best. Has been hit hard by certain teams. If we bump over to some of his stats here in 2020, we scroll down again, talk about some of his stats. In 2020, almost a 40% hard hit rate, very similar to what I had seen with Cobb there. For the last couple of years, you're talking 35 to 40% over the last 3 years, really. 7+% barrel rate, so they're barreling him up, they're hitting him hard. We like to see that. Now, specifically, he has shown up on a lot of my lists here. 5.0 xFIP, and you're talking a decent sample size of innings. 339 WOBA, again, hard hit rate of pretty good, 35+%, 2.09 home runs per 9. That's versus lefties. Similar deal here, doesn't really fare much better versus righties. Actually, he's a bit better. 3.46, 300 WOBA, 1.28 home runs per 9. But the point here is he still gets hit hard at 35%. So again, I think the Chicago White Sox are in a good spot. Tonight is a sneaky stack, a good stack, but they are expensive, I will admit that. If we bump over to the optimizer here, and this is why I like these videos a little more, we can kind of look at lineups, or at least projected lineups, much faster. White Sox lineup is out. Anderson, Abreu, Jimenez are the guys that are hitting righties very, very well this season, so those would be my targets. But of course, Grandal gives you that switch hitter, cheaper price tag. Encarnacion has been much better the second half of the season. Moncada, another righty, another switch hitter, I should say, versus the righty here. So all those guys are attractive to me. I like the Chicago White Sox as another random stack. I'd be remiss to say the New York Yankees are not in a good spot. They're projected a very, very healthy total tonight. Number 2 on the board at 6.2. I mentioned they put up 1 billion runs over the last couple of nights. The Yankees, again, versus a lefty especially. They are now a healthy team. You have Stanton in the lineup. You have Judge in the lineup. It's going to be a nasty night again tonight, except for the fact that I'm playing them, so they're probably going to score 1 run. But 6.20 is a very, very high number. Perez, the lefty for Boston, certainly is not pitched well this season. 4.33 runs or ERA on the season. You can see here he's faced the Yankees already the season. Earlier in the season, gave up 3 earned in 3 innings, and that was without a lot of their stud bats, which are now in the lineup. Of course, they are expensive, but not as expensive as you would think. You can get your Hicks at a decent price of $3,200. Stanton is only $3,800. Torres is $3,000. Ursula is $3,200. Frazier $3,700. Gary Sanchez is $3,000. I think all of these right-handers are in great spots, so you can differentiate. You can get I wouldn't call it a value stack, of course, but if you can avoid LeMahieu, Judge, and Voit, you basically have guys $3,500 or less. So certainly an affordable stack if done correctly. The last stack I'm going to mention here is coming back to the main page of FanDuel. I do want to attack, if I could find his name. Where's the price tag? It's the San Diego Padres versus this lefty here in Kikuchi, the lefty for Seattle. I'm not saying he's the worst pitcher in the world, but he's not a good pitcher. I mean, that's pretty much it. 4 earned runs in his last start. Has given up 4 or 5 4 times already this season. Has only pitched, 6 or 7 games. So take that for what it is. He's a lefty, and San Diego crushes lefties. That's kind of the point here. It's a great matchup. Focusing on teams versus lefties. Again, using Fangraphs here. We're going to sort this data out. San Diego versus lefties. If I could find their name. They're 12th overall with a 108 WRC+, 330 WOBA, but more importantly, they jump up pretty high, top 10 in ISO at 190. It's the key pieces of this lineup that I like a ton. And again, I think you're going to see an under-owned stack here attacking this guy. But Fernando Tatis Jr., obviously mauling lefties, killing everybody he faces. Expensive at $4,400, but in play. Machado, career-wise, takes care of lefties day in, day out. Will Myers, another guy I want to pull out that stands out to me. 234. You can see a 234 ISO versus lefties here. So those 3 guys stand out to me. I like the San Diego Padres tonight. Healthy 4.81 projected run total, in a good spot as a stack overall. I will mention very, very quickly some other teams that I'm hearing a lot of people talk about are the Angels in Texas as value stacks. I'm pretty much going to stay away from that game. I think you have the option to figure out tonight where a lot of people will go, and there's options available that are just as good, if not better, and that give you some leverage. So that's why I'm avoiding Paddock. That's why I'm avoiding the Angels in Texas. And we're going to see what happens tonight. You're going to have to be careful, in my opinion. But I do want to mention some other bats here, some one-off bats, as I always do. JD Martinez is $3,000. That stands out to me as a criminally low price. I think I'm going to get a ton of exposure to him. He's facing a lefty in Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery is not great. JD Martinez has always done super well versus lefties. Has a ridiculous ISO, ridiculous WOBA. So I'm not afraid to play him at $3,000. Tatis Jr., again, $4,400. If you're looking for an under-owned, expensive bat, I think he stands out. I do want to get exposure to Will Smith, regardless of how it happens, $3,500 for the Dodgers tonight. And flipping back over, I'll show you guys some other guys that stand out here in terms of pricing, in terms of value. We can sort this. Willy Calhoun, a lot of people will be going, I mentioned it earlier, with this Texas stack for $2,200 versus Berea for the Angels. I think Willy Calhoun stands out. Giancarlo Stanton is probably my favorite bat at $3,800 from the New York Yankees versus that lefty in Martinez. So if you're picking a one-off, he's my favorite. He's hot. He's back from injury. He seems to have found his stroke, hit a home run, and I think he had 3 hits last night overall. So all good things here. But generally, that wraps it up. Those are some of my favorite one-off bats. Hopefully, these videos are helpful for you guys. Hopefully, showing you guys the optimizer, the FanGraph stats, all that kind of makes sense. Helps you guys more or less figure out where you want to go. I'm giving you advice here. I'm talking about some of my favorite spots. It's early on. Lineups aren't out yet. We're still figuring it out. Vegas lines will change. Weather will change. It's on you guys, again, to check into all of that. But again, hopefully this is helpful for you guys. Let me know down in the comments below if there's anybody I missed, if there's any spots that you think are worth going to. I'd really appreciate some comments, especially on a tougher slate like this. I think pitching is very difficult, and you have a million ways to go with stacks. So it's going to be definitely interesting. And last but not least, as I mentioned, later today, NFL content will be coming out specific for Sunday, FanDuel, main slate, NFL content here at No Huddle Fantasy Sports. I'm putting out baseball content still every single day, so pay attention for that as we wrap up this season. But besides that, if you watch these videos every day, every week, every month, if this is your first time here, whatever it is, do yourself a favor, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit that notification bell, it'll let you know when I put out videos. We've been hot all season long. We're gonna pick right back up tonight. I can guarantee it. I shouldn't say that. I'm pretty confident we're gonna pick it up tonight. So I'm looking forward to tonight's action. Hopefully you guys are too. Share these videos, give them a like if they're helpful. But besides that, good luck tonight, and I'll catch you in the next video.